I'm building a custom Firebird style guitar and we're getting towards the end of the process. So in this episode I'm going to be tackling the final step before we can get it fully assembled, and that is to get all the wiring sorted out. So this wiring is actually relatively straightforward. There's nothing at all complicated about it, but there is one kind of technicality with the Firebird that I need to kind of highlight before I go any further, and that is the control layout on a Firebird is different from that you might expect. So on an SG or a Les Paul or anything like that, what you'd have is volume, volume, tone, tone. What the Firebird does is it's got volume, volume, tone, tone, and that would really confuse me. I would get that wrong all the time. So I'm going to wire this up as you would wire a Les Paul. So I have the two volumes at the front, the two tones at the back. It's also quite tight, if you notice here. There isn't much space between the controls because there isn't actually much room on this area of the guitar. So they are quite close together, which might complicate things a little bit, but I'm sure we'll manage. And just to make sure that I actually get all of this in roughly the right position, I've just created a little jig for everything to sit in, and that should get me where I need to be. So all my volume and tone pots can go in like that, and my output jack, and then I can just wire all that together into one harness. I can install that on the guitar, then I just need to run the pickup and the switching wires into that, and hopefully we should be good to go. So we'll get the soldering iron set up, get some tools ready, and just get some wire, and we can start putting this all together. Okay, so the soldering iron's warmed up. I've got some bits of wire that I can be soldering everything together with. Got myself some solder so we can make a start on it. Now the first thing I need to do is just to ground one of these lugs on each of the pots. So we'll get a nice big blob of solder onto the case and then just solder that on. I'll repeat that on all four of them. Then next up, I just need to get one of these capacitors. It needs to go from the middle lug of the tone pot through to this lug here of the volume pot. Now there's not a lot of room, as I said, on here, but there is plenty of depth. So what I'll probably do is I will put this in as best I can, sticking up, and then when it goes into the guitar we can bend it into position. So to prepare for that, I'll just tin all the lugs that we're going to use up. Okay, with the capacitors in, the next thing we need to do now is just run some ground wires between all the pots and then a ground wire out to the output jack, and then that will be this section of the electronics done, and we can get these into the guitar and then look at the switch and the pickup connections. Okay, so there's all the controls fitted. All gone in really, really nicely. Very happy with that. And it's actually looking quite neat in there. I'll get a better shot when we've gone a little bit further along. So now, there's not much electrical stuff to do. So we've got three main jobs to do now. First off, we need to put a ground wire in from this tailpiece stud through into the control cavity. Quite straightforward, not an issue. Then after that, we've got the pickups to fit, get the wires routed through, get those soldered on. And then lastly, we need to get some wiring through to this location and get the switch all soldered up, and then we can get that put in place. So a little bit of work to do, but not too much. So first up, we'll tackle this ground wire. And I'm just going to take a little length of this black wire, feed it through the hole that we've already drilled in this location, feed it through that way because it's been a bit awkward, and all I need to do is just feed that through until I can see the bare element of the wire poking through, and then I'll just take this stud, soft faced hammer, okay, and that seems to have got it. But just to make sure, I'm just going to do a quick continuity test. So I've got my multimeter set to my lowest resistance setting, which is 200 ohms range. And I'll just check those. And that's given me some resistance there. If there was an open circuit, it'd just give me that one. But as you can see, it's given me a little bit of resistance, which means we have continuity, which is what we want. So I can get that just pushed through into the control cavity, and we can deal with wiring that up at a later point. So with that in, next step, and one I've been looking forward to for a long time, is to start to get these pickups in. So first off, we will just feed that wire through there. And we'll just screw it in place so it's not flopping about everywhere. And now it's just a matter of attaching these pickup wires onto the pot. So this outer sheath will be grounded onto the body of the pot, and the central hot wire will go into this lug of the pot here that the capacitor attaches to. Do that to both of the volume controls, and then it's just a matter of running the cable through to the switch and just making sure that everything is grounded. Okay, so just the last bit to do now, and that's to fit the switch. And I've had a bit of a nightmare. This multi-core cable that I've run through from the control cavity, I thought it was long enough to reach the switch. It actually isn't, so I've had to extend it, hence this horrible looking bit of heat shrink, which I will clean up once I've got everything sorted out. But basically, we've got 4 connections to make now. We've got the green and the white wire coming from each of the pickups. We've got the red wire that is going to the output, and we've got the ground. And it's just a matter of fitting them into the appropriate tabs on the switch. So I'll start with this red wire, which is the output, and then just work my way through the rest of them until they're all in position. Okay, so that's the wiring done. I've got this kind of in position, but it's not fastened down yet. Just makes it easier to play with. So the next step is to just test this and make sure it works, and very easy, straightforward way to do it. I've got it plugged in already It's my little practice amp that I keep down the shed, and it's in the middle position now, so both pickups should be working. And if we just tap on them, you might not be able to hear that so well on camera, but I can hear that coming through the amp. So then if we put it in the bridge position, and then the neck position, so we're getting a feed in all the positions, and the volumes and tones seem to work as well, so that's all brilliant. So realistically, all I need to do now is get some screws into this, get some screws into the cover plate on the back, and then we're pretty much done, and we could be moving on to the final assembly. But obviously, I'm not going to do that now. We'll leave that for the last episode, which will be along in a few days' time, and we'll finally get this project done and have a listen and see what it sounds like. I'm really excited about that, and I hope you are too. So, same as always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.